Hello, Ellie.
Oh, hey, Alan.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for taking some time this morning to chat with us on the podcast series. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.
For those that are tuning in online, we're taping this on April 27th, and we'll be posting it later this afternoon. On the phone with us this morning is Ellie Rose. She is a young singer-songwriter from here in northeastern Pennsylvania. She's 20 years old. She released her debut record, Broken Strings. Ellie, I'm thinking it's right around a year ago now. Was it last April or May?
Yeah, it was at the end of May. I think we finally finished recording and got it out.
Okay, because I thought that I had been playing some of the songs on the show since last spring around. I thought it was May, so I'm kind of in the ballpark there. Ellie was she was awarded with the 2009 Steamtown Music Awards Female Vocalist of the Year. And so she is really one of the exciting up-and-coming young talents here in northeastern Pennsylvania. So thanks so much for chatting with us again. I do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for that.
Well, you've earned it. You've been out there playing shows for a couple of years now. You know, considering how young you are, I think that a lot of people in northeastern Pennsylvania are pretty familiar with you and your name, and they're starting to get to know your music. And so, you know, it must be exciting for a young artist.
I like that people. It's very rewarding when people listen to a song that I've written and they can relate to it somehow. That's really like what I aim for. But yeah, just thank you, thank you.
Well, you know, Ellie, I've been doing these interviews now. This will be the third week. Some of the folks that I've talked to, I know you know, Brett Alexander and AJ Jump, and maybe you know some of the others as well. So if you listen to any of them, you probably know that my first question, we're going to talk about how this is affecting you as a musician, because that's really why I started to do the podcast a few weeks back. But I always just like to start asking, how are you doing? How's your family? How's everybody on your end of things holding up during this unprecedented situation that we're going through here in our country?
You know, we're all doing okay. My parents are working from home now, and my brother's home from school, which typically wouldn't happen around this time of year. But we're all safe and we're all healthy, and you know, we feel really blessed for that. You know, it's strange not being able to go out and even just go to the store for the most part to get groceries, but you know, we're trying to we're making do with it. Trying to keep busy is the most important thing for us right now, because just trying to stay occupied doing something. But we have all of our prayers and thoughts going out to the people who are first responders right now, and all of the healthcare workers. I mean, the work that they're doing right now with everything going on is just amazing. So we're trying to do our part here so that they can do theirs.
You know, I think, you know, it's really nice, you know, for you to point that out, and some of the others that I've spoken with have done that as well. You know, I think that we're at a point now, we're 6 weeks into this, some of us, and you start getting a little bit caught up in your own world at this point. You start you know, maybe it's a financial thing you're going through, or you're getting a little stir crazy, or boredom. And, you know, all those things are part of this for all of us. You know, if you don't have someone in your family battling with the virus, of course, if that's a situation in your life, then that's your main focus. But if that isn't your main focus, then it starts moving on to those other things I just mentioned. And I think it's important for us to remember, you know, what a horrific situation this is for some of the people in the medical field. I just posted something on my own Facebook page this morning. A woman in New York, she's an ICU nurse, and she posted a lengthy sort of update on a day or two in her life, and it was horrifying, just the things that she's seeing. And so thank you for reminding us all that we need to stay focused on that. You know, we're talking about music here because that's kind of what my thing has been in this area for a while now. And so, you know, I thought, well, this is what I could do, just talk to the musicians and see how they're working their way through this. But certainly our thoughts are on the front lines.
Yeah.
getting to the music with you, you're a young artist, but you're out there playing. I've seen you at Hops and Barley's, I've seen you at Flaherty's, Carl Hall. I've seen you at Tony's Wine Cellar. Obviously, I think that's where I met you for the first time, like a lot of people have. I saw you at Briggs Farm last year, doing a great set with some amazing musicians. So, you look back now on 6 weeks or so. Have you lost shows to COVID-19? Have there been gigs that you had to cancel? And, we can't even say postpone for those club shows because, they're never coming back. How's it affected you as a musician?
Yeah, I mean, it's I've had a couple of gigs that have been canceled in that time. It was, I mean, with school going on for this semester, I've been trying to balance it a little more. So I didn't have as many gigs as I usually do, but in this time frame, I did have a couple planned out for this until school's over. And it's sad for me to miss out on that because I lose the opportunity of getting my music out to people and interacting with people in that platform. I'm not as much of a social media person, which sounds kind of strange, but I'll go on Facebook and do some things here and there. So it's hard to, sometimes it can be hard to connect a little more on Facebook. So I like to go out and actually, talk to people and hear what they have to say about, my set or what they thought of this part of it, or just talking to people to get to know them. So it's been hard on that front of trying to adjust to interacting with people on Facebook instead of in person, which is strange, but Well, some of the artists obviously are doing the streams from home, and I think Carl Hall shared one of yours, which I shared on the Music on the Menu page. But was that an older performance, or was that something that you had done during COVID-19? I know I shared it. It looked fairly recent, but I wasn't sure if it was something you did for this situation or if it was something you had done online prior. No, yeah, that was something I had done recently. So you have done something.
Yeah,
yeah.
With some, yeah, I thought it was something that you had done sort of in response to all this, like others have done.
Yeah, so I mean, AJ reached out to me and asked me if I would do a song for the page, and I was willing to. I wanted to do it, but the song I did was a song I wrote a while ago, and for some reason I just never got around to playing it out.
Okay.
I don't know. It felt like there was just kind of some anxiety there with it. It was, I don't know, but it's a song about, like, that I wrote about, when you feel like you are in a crappy situation or you're in a crappy headspace. It's about, like, taking the best of that and using it to do something good with it, or using it to make something from it.
Kind of appropriate for these times, right?
Yeah, well, I thought about it, and I was like, even though I haven't played this one out yet, I feel like this could really maybe reach some people with what's going on right now. I mean, you're either, like I said, you're either a first responder or you're stuck at home and you're trying to figure out what you can do, and it can seem a little bleak sometimes, I feel like. So I think it's good. I thought it would be a good song to put out to show people, this it kind of sucks right now, but
yeah.
but there's something that you can do, whether it's from home or from doing it on the front lines.
And it's interesting. We talk about the front lines, but and I didn't think of this. I admit it. Someone else pointed it out. I think I may have seen it on social media or on the news. But the people in the hospitals that clean the hospitals, the people that go through the rooms, and all these people that are in these situations in nursing homes, obviously, people that clean buildings, people that work in the cafeterias in these buildings, food servers, anywhere where this virus is out there. even if you're not a doctor or nurse or paramedic, you're still kind of in the line of fire. And so, I think, there's so many people out there that we're not thinking of as much. There, and certainly we're talking about the supermarket workers and everybody, but you're right. Besides those few people, food service and things, there's an awful lot of people cooped up at home right now in this country, millions. And so, just try to find a place for that in your music is admirable. Thanks for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Have you heard anything about any of the summer events that you might have been playing? Like a Briggs Farm or anything? I was talking to Richard Briggs about 2 weeks ago, and he hadn't pulled the plug on the event yet, but I guess that's not looking too good right now. I haven't heard anything official. We've had some other events, big summer festivals kind of go down over the last few days, the Kilbossy Festival in Plymouth and the Pierogi Festival in Edwardsville, and all those had music on them, played live bands, which is why I'm mentioning them too. Have you heard anything about anything you had planned for the summer being postponed or still a go as of now?
I haven't heard any updates on anything yet. It's stuff like Briggs that if it got canceled, I'd understand. I'd be heartbroken because what they do there is great every year, but I haven't heard anything yet about what's been going on. I think a lot of people are waiting to see how things might change.
Yeah, because I think Pennsylvania gradually will start to open up little by little throughout the month of May, and then we'll have a much better idea towards the end of May of how it can go forward from there. So that seems to be the general consensus. I haven't heard anything about that particular event either, or even some shows that are I think at Montage in the summer. There's tours that have been canceled, but some single-year events I think technically still might actually be on the book. So, we'll have to wait and see. We're all in the wait and see mode.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it before we got on the phone, Ellie, and, you're 20 years old, and so I was looking at a person my age and some of the people that I had on that are, younger than me, but still, maybe in their 30s, like AJ or Dustin Drevich the other day. But for me, like, there's these life events I have, I can remember the flood of 1972. Very, very, one of my first memories of life, but literally seeing this whole valley destroyed. I could certainly remember 9/11. I could remember where I was when the war broke out in the Middle East, both times, in the 90s and in the 2000s. And a couple of tragedies with the space shuttle program. 2009, seeing an African-American inaugurated as President of the United States. These are just a few that I thought off the top of my head where there are those remember where you were moments. For someone your age, this is probably the milestone historical event of your life, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it is unprecedented in that sense of things. I mean, there are some things that you remember. I was born in 2000, so there's stuff I was alive for, but I don't remember. But
you couldn't remember 9/11. You were 1 year old, right?
Yeah.
So.
But like I remember, like the Haiti earthquake was huge. I remember.
Yeah.
I also remember President Obama getting inaugurated. That was something that, everyone talked about. But it was something, the difference between like what's happening now and what happened then is kind of like I didn't process, because I was so young, I didn't process what was actually happening with those events.
You're old enough now to process this one, and it doesn't have that. It was a slow build, so it doesn't have that where were you when this happened kind of moment to it, because I think it was slow. Started in the middle of March, and canceling the parades around here and closing schools, and that's kind of when it all started, around St. Patrick's Day, like, to me, in my mind. And then it just kind of really roller coastered after that. You start seeing the NBA and the NHL canceling seasons or postponing seasons. And you start thinking, man, these are events that are supposed to go on for months from now. And so, what was your reaction to that as a young person experiencing all that? I
think that for younger people, And I think especially like people who were in school, because when this started happening, I was still at school.
You're at the University of Scranton, correct?
Yeah. I'm studying electrical engineering up there.
Okay.
So, but I think for what happened, you know, like for me, it kind of was a where were you when this happened kind of moment. Where were you when quarantine started? Because
yeah, so talk about that a little bit. You know, if you do have those moments, like I have a couple, like I said, that being told I could work from home, and you know, being told that we couldn't come into the office, being told my kids were out for initially, I think it was 2 weeks. Now it's 3 months. But yeah, I mean, there are moments like that where you'll remember. So share some of yours with us.
So when I was at school, I think it was about a week or a little less than a week before spring break started. There's this engineering conference, and it was really everything was really picking up speed with it at that point. Like everyone started talking about it. We heard of other schools closing. So me and everyone I knew at school, we were kind of sitting there like, well, is this going to happen here? Like, are we going to shut down? Is the virus going to get here? You know, that like at that time it was kind of like, oh man, like the virus is going to be here. You know, it was scary. But there was this engineering conference that I go to with my school every year, and it's huge, and it's all these schools within the region come. And the week before spring break, everyone got an email that was canceled. And for that to be canceled, that's huge.
Yeah.
And then I think it was that same day or the next day they announced that the school was going to be extending spring break by a week, and we would do online classes for 2 weeks. And it was kind of like pandemonium at that point because, you know, there were people who were like, oh, well, are we going to be out for the whole semester? Do I have to bring all of my stuff home? People who were like, wow, how are we going to do online classes? Like it all just kind of, it felt so, it kind of got wild a little bit. I mean, you know, everyone's running around trying to figure out what to do. They only have a few days until spring break starts. And then, you know, once spring break started, I got home and I was in quarantine. So it was kind of...
It hasn't really changed since, right? I mean, that's, you know, it's 6-7 weeks ago now.
I know, I've lost time.
Do you feel, because, you know, so obviously, you know, you're a bright young woman with good head on your shoulders. You know, I know your folks, you know, we worked, your parents and I have worked on the Band Together for Brett, obviously, together, and we're trying to get that event rolling, which was supposed to have happened a few weeks ago. So I got to know your family a little bit. Great people.
Thank you.
You know, you have a good head on your shoulders, Ellie. But do you feel that you're, like when that happened, you mentioned spring break, which made me think of it. Do you feel that your generation was, you know, unjustly criticized because of, you know, and I'll say it, you know, those knuckleheads down there in Florida that were on the beach, you know, when this was really starting to get serious, and then stories came out really shortly after that some of them, of course, had COVID-19 and they had taken it back to their families, and everything that they told them was going to happen happened. And, you know, you know, but your generation got a lot of criticism for, you know, for that, when, you know, my experience is that it probably is not justified at all. There's a lot of people like yourself that listen to what was supposed to be done and take the right directions. How do you feel about how your generation was perceived during that whole time? Did you feel like offended?
I felt slightly offended. Because on the one hand, yes, there were kids going down and going to Florida, and it's like, why would you do this during a global pandemic? You're gonna have next year. Even if you graduate, you can go next year. It's, you know, but on the same hand, you know, for me, like, you know, seeing the news, it was kind of, they didn't really separate those kids from the kids who, did follow the stay-at-home orders.
Right.
You know, there were a lot of
news,
kids.
They made the news because they were out and the news could talk to them, you know.
Yeah.
So you can't talk to the other, 25 million 20-year-olds that are, sitting at home. So that's why I kind of felt it was a little bit unjust. And hey, let's say it. People my age, people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, they're just as many knuckleheads out there too from that age. A lot of them, in my opinion, were down in Harrisburg last week. So, I mean, I have friends who are EMTs who once they started spring break, like once they got home, immediately they were on the rigs, like helping coronavirus people. Right.
Like that's something that you don't hear about. Like you don't hear about all the 20-something-year-olds who are volunteer EMTs, and yeah, they have a path in med school that they want to follow, but they've been doing this since high school. Like that's something that they don't talk about. But the spring breakers who say we're going to party regardless, like get all the coverage. It's, to me, that bothers me a little bit, because we should be focusing on the people who are doing good. And
that's one of the reasons I asked you about it, Ellie. I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about it because, I think you're right. And I think that there's a lot of people, millions of them like yourself, your age, people in their 20s, late teens, that are trying to figure out how to help. And, if that simply means by, quarantine, staying at home and social distancing, if that's all they could do, that's plenty. And there's a lot of them doing it. And so that first crop there, it seemed like, there was this perception that they were indifferent because those kids, because they were unlikely to get it, and even if they did, they were unlikely to die because they were young and healthy, and kind of gave this stereotype that is probably definitely unjustified. So has this, as a musician, has this stay-at-home quarantine, has being a musician helped you? I was talking to Dustin about this the other day. Dustin Douglas, I'm sure you've crossed paths before.
Yeah.
Right?
He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, and Dustin was saying that he Dustin's got a lot of guitars. and he said he dusted off a couple that he hadn't played in a while, and that, just being able to play at home, whether it be writing or just, playing some of his favorite songs has offered him some solace during all this. Has that been the case for you as well? Has being able to pick up a guitar and even just entertain yourself been a way for you to get some relief through all this?
Yeah, actually, sometimes I feel like it's brought me closer again to playing guitar. And not because I can't go out and play for other people, but like my daily routine before all of this was so busy that I didn't really have time to just sit and play for myself. But now it's kind of like, okay, I finished my schoolwork. What do I do now? I can't go out and find something to do. I'm inside. So I've actually gotten more used to playing, guitar, or I'll pick up something in my house and I'll either just play a song that I know, or I'll write a song. Like I've actually written a couple over this quarantine.
That was my next question for you. I was going to ask you, have you been writing? Because sometimes even though the situation prevents, or I should say, sometimes the situation allows you to do it more because you've got more time, but you can't just flip that switch. Creativity seems to come in spurts. So have you been able to find some of those moments during this time and write some songs?
Yeah, it's been a couple different things that have come into play. I mean, there's like the current crisis of what's going on that you think about and you write down, but then there's also just daily things you see. I mean, there's even just looking out in my backyard has been, I see all the cardinals and all the bunnies, and that kind of like triggers something too, so it's been kind of interesting to be able to just take a second to notice the things around you a little more and be able to put it into writing.
Well, I guess that's something we could all look forward to when this is all over, taking these new songs of yours, taking them into the studio, and who knows, maybe I think the studios would probably be one of the first things that are allowed to open as a business. Like I was talking about this with a couple of the other folks that we've interviewed this week, or the past few weeks, but usually a pretty small group of people in the studio anyway. So once they get back in business, maybe you'll be able to start working on album number 2. Is that something you look forward to doing?
Yeah, I've been kind of playing it out, unofficially.
Okay.
I've been, I have a couple songs written, a little more than a couple, but I have some songs written, and they're songs I really just want to kind of get into the meat of, like kind of just get into, working with other people on them, because I just love, like, working in the studio on my first album was so cool. That's the best way I could put it. It was so cool just to hear how, like, other people, like, see other people, like, connecting to the song and playing the song with me.
You had some great people. You had not only Brett, but Husty, Rob and Tim Husty were on the record, right? I mean, just
oh yeah, they're all super amazingly talented. Like, it was just mind blowing. It was Tim and Rob and Nike and Brett played too. I felt so blessed to have these people in my life and have them work on this and be a part of this. There's nothing more I could have asked for on that front. Period.
Do you miss going down to Tony's? I mean, that was the thing that's where, you talk about non-social distancing. I mean, that's a lot of people down there having a good time every Wednesday. Tony's Wine Cellar, I'm talking about. For those who might be unfamiliar listening, they have an open mic jam every Wednesday going back, I think it's coming up on 6 years now, and hosted by Eddie Epnow and Brett and Ellie. You kind of found your footing there, right? That was really one of the places where you found your place to get up on stage and present your songs. So that's an important venue to you, an important night for you. Do you miss going down there? I'm sure.
Oh my God, 100%. Yeah.
Sometimes I ask questions and I obviously know the answer, but I guess I just want you to talk about it. What's your miss about it?
I mean, what Eddie and Brett do there is just great. I mean, you've been there, you've seen what the night consists of, and it's just everyone is just there for the music, and everyone who's playing is playing because they want to, it's not like a hey, spotlight's on me. It's like a hey, I'm playing, like, we're all here for a good time kind of thing. So it's just so, like, how do I put it? It's such a good feeling being there. And not only that, but, everyone there kind of becomes like a second family of sorts, because you go and you see them every week and you connect over music, and you can relate to one another, and you start talking about your own lives, and you're jamming out to music in the meantime, and there's food and there's drinks, and it's kind of like a big party every week, but you're there with people that you know, and people that are there every week, and it's just not the same right now, without Eddie emceeing and all the musicians, and I miss it. I'm hoping things can go back to normal soon enough that I can go, and I know it'd probably be we'd probably have to wear face masks, but hey, that's okay. I'd take that and be able to go see them over not,
Well,
so.
The way it's looking right now for that is, let's be honest here, we're doing these COVID-19 conversation series. That's not looking too good right now. First of all, Luzerne County has a higher number of cases than some of the other counties throughout the state that might ease into things a little more quickly than we do. And then, I think the bars might be among the last things that they free up. And so, probably a way off from a big jam down at Tony's. But I'll tell you, Ellie, one of the things that I was really taken back, and I've been down there a bunch of times, as you know, saw you and your parents there. That's where we met. Is the diversity of the artists. The last time I was there, not long before all this happened, and back in maybe the winter, there was you probably know the gentleman I'm talking about. He was an older gentleman, and he got up with his I think the band were his sons or his nephews, their family, and he did a couple of Sinatra songs. The guy I'm talking about, and and they see him that, and it's well received, and people appreciate it, and people were, hey, here's the guy doing a couple of old standards, and and then the next person up is doing a Led Zeppelin song or something. It's just an incredibly cool vibe,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that draws people in, because it's kind of like there's something for everyone. It's if you're more of a Sinatra person, then they have, that's there. If you're more of a Led Zeppelin person, then hey, they got that too. But it's also, they have your whatever you may like more, but then they also have other songs too, and other musicians that can open your eyes to more that you might have not thought you liked before. I think the biggest thing for me when I started going to Tony's was that, it really opened my eyes up to all the different kinds of music that's out there, and all the different ways that you can do a cover of it and make it, put your twist on it. So, that I think that's just something about Tony's, and about what they do there that really brings people in.
Well, the first night that we get through all this and everything's back to normal, and Brett and Eddie are up there, and established musicians are walking through the door that everybody knows because they just like to hang there, and up and coming artists are getting up on stage for sometimes the very first time, and that all comes together. That's something we could all certainly look forward to. I have one last question for you, Ellie. I noticed that you on your social media were this is a fun question, so we've been talking about some heavy stuff here, so I appreciate your time. Thank you. Taking on some of these questions. But I noticed that you were nominated to do your top 10 influential records, and I saw you, like, it was everything from Amy Winehouse to Adele to Marilyn Manson so far. I saw a couple of them you posted. What have you been hunkering down with and listening to during this COVID-19 crisis? Have you had a couple of artists that have been your go-to person to maybe get you through one of the days where you needed a lift?
Ooh, this is fun.
Told you it was a fun one.
I listen to such a wide range. I mean, honestly, the album, the 10 days of albums has been it's been fun, but it's also been kind of hard because I like songs more than I like artists or albums specifically. I listen more to individual songs, but if there's any that I can think of, I've been listening to Hozier.
What artists? It doesn't have to be albums, but what artists have been getting you through?
I like Hozier a lot. He's an Irish musician, but the songs on his album, even if they're not as happy with the lyrics sometimes, they're actually they put me in a good mood. They're very great for the most part. I also I've been listening to more of a variety, and just kind of listening more to songs, rather than just songs that push me through. So I've been listening to some that, I had Marilyn Manson has been one of them. I listened to a little Post Malone because that's big with some of my friends, and his one album I liked for that. But also I've been listening to some Trixie Whitley more, some Cage the Elephant, Highly Suspect. I really like Highly Suspect. They're high on that list. But yeah, I just I've been listening to the ones that I've been listening to for a while, but also throwing in some that I'm trying to, you know, continue to open my horizons to. So.
Well, I have found myself, and if I find myself getting in one of these, you know, we could all get into a state of malaise right now, and you know, if I start my day off, I'm talking like, you know, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning with some jams, I'm probably going to have a better day. So,
I know. I go for a walk every day, and I do like an hour-long walk down the street and back, and I'll listen to music while I do it. And, you know, for me, that's just a really good way for me to get out of the house a little bit, have some alone time, kind of be in my own little world for a little bit, listen to some music.
Get your space and, you know, get those endorphins kicking in, right?
Yeah, it's good exercise too. I mean, you know, I've been walking every day about 4 miles, I guess. So, you know, yeah. I mean, I do a little speed walk. Just picture me going down the street.
Good for you, Ellie.
Thank you.
For you.
Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate your time this morning. You know, when I began the podcast series about 3 weeks ago, I started off with some people that I've known for a long time, and some of the veterans, you might say. And of course, we had the passing of Jerry Ludwig, so I wanted to talk to some folks about him because he was, you know, a legendary figure here in northeastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And, you know, but now as I'm getting into the third week of them, you know, I wanted to talk to some of the younger up and coming artists and get their take on all of this. And you've given us a terrific perspective. So I appreciate it, you know, and I'm looking forward to hearing those new songs. Please send your mom and dad my best, and everybody in your family, and, you know, we'll be in touch. You hang in there.
Thank you. You too. I hope everything is well for you. I hope that you and your family are safe and healthy right now. And thank you so much.
We're all hanging in there. Just all we could do. Just, you know, take it one day at a time, and, you know, we'll all be together again soon, hopefully. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and thanks again for your time. And again, we'll look forward to hearing those new songs.
Thanks, Alan.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.